My wife and I had it all: beautiful home, luxury cars, designer clothes. We also had $400,000 in debt that she refused to acknowledge. AITA for cutting off my wife's lavish spending after she ignored my concerns? There's a moment in every marriage when you realize that you and your partner are no longer on the same team. It doesn't happen all at once. It's not a single fight or a dramatic betrayal. It's 1,000 small moments, a million dismissed concerns, an endless parade of conversations where you express a worry and it's brushed aside like a crumb on a tablecloth. For me, that moment of clarity, the one where I finally understood that something had to change, came on a Tuesday evening in October. I was sitting in our living room, surrounded by furniture we couldn't afford, staring at a credit card bill I couldn't pay, while my wife scrolled through her phone looking at vacation rentals in Tuscany. "Babe, what do you think?" she asked, holding up the phone. "This villa has a private pool and a chef. Only $12,000 for the week." I looked at the screen. Looked at the bill in my hand. Looked at her face, so full of expectation, so completely unaware of the reality we were living in. "We can't afford a $12,000 vacation," I said. "We can't afford the vacation we already took last month." Her face fell, not with concern, but with annoyance. "You're always so negative. We work hard. We deserve to enjoy life. We also deserve to have savings. To not be drowning in debt. To have a future that isn't just an endless cycle of spending and stressing." She rolled her eyes. A small gesture, but it landed like a punch. "You worry too much. Everything always works out." And she went back to scrolling. That was the moment. Not the fight, not the confrontation, but the dismissal. The complete and utter disregard for my concerns, my fears, my very real and legitimate worries about our financial future. My name is Marcus. I'm 38 years old. I've been married to my wife, Sienna, for 7 years. We don't have children by choice, initially, though lately I've been grateful for that small mercy. What we have is a beautiful home in an expensive neighborhood, 2 luxury cars that are both financed to the hilt, a closet full of designer clothes that Sienna wears once and forgets, and a mountain of debt that grows larger every month. I'm an architect. I make good money, really good money, by most standards. 6 figures, with the potential for more. But no amount of money is enough when the spending is unlimited. And Sienna's spending has no limits. It wasn't always like this. When we first met, she was different. More grounded. More aware of the value of a dollar. She worked as a marketing coordinator, made a decent salary, lived within her means. We'd go on dates that were nice but not extravagant. We'd talk about our dreams, a house, a family, a future, and they seemed achievable, realistic. Then we got married. Then I got promoted. Then she quit her job. It happened gradually. She'd always talked about wanting to be a stay-at-home mom, but we didn't have kids yet. Still, she argued, why work when we didn't need the money? She could focus on the house, on us, on building the life we'd always wanted. I agreed. I wanted her to be happy. I wanted to provide for her. I wanted to be the kind of husband who could support his wife's dreams. I didn't realize that her dreams were bottomless. The first year was fine. She decorated the house, spent some money, but nothing crazy. She planned nice dinners, kept things running smoothly. I felt like a king, coming home to a beautiful wife and a beautiful home. The second year, the spending escalated. New furniture. New clothes. New hobbies that required expensive equipment and then were abandoned. She joined a country club, $20,000 a year, because that's where the right people are. I mentioned it, gently. That's a lot of money, honey. Are you sure we need a country club? It's an investment in our social capital. You'll see. The contacts I make there will be worth 10 times what we pay. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to trust her judgment. So I let it go. The third year, she started traveling. Girls' trips to Miami, to Cabo, to Europe. Always first class, always the best hotels, always charging it to credit cards that I paid off every month. These are experiences, she said. Memories. You can't put a price on memories. I tried. Actually, you can. And the price is $30,000 so far this year. You're so focused on money. Life is about more than money. Life is also about more than spending it. She dismissed me. Again. By year 4, we were in debt. Not catastrophic debt, but enough to worry me. $50,000 on credit cards, another $30,000 on a personal loan we'd taken to renovate the kitchen. I suggested we talk to a financial advisor. She said we didn't need one. I suggested we cut back. She said I was being dramatic. By year 5, the debt had doubled. I was working longer hours, taking on more projects, trying to earn enough to keep up. Sienna noticed, but not in the way I'd hoped. You're never home, she complained. You work all the time. What's the point of having money if we never spend time together? The point is to pay off the money we already spent. You see? This is why I need the trips. To get away from your negativity. It was a loop. A cycle. An endless spiral of spending, debt, work, and resentment. And I was trapped in it. I tried everything. Spreadsheets, budgets, conversations, arguments, pleas. I showed her the numbers. I explained interest rates and minimum payments and the difference between assets and liabilities. She listened, nodded, and then bought a new handbag. We deserve this, she'd say. We work hard. I worked hard. She spent hard. And the gap between us grew wider and wider. By year 7, we were $400,000 in debt. Not including the mortgage. Not including the car loans. $400,000 on credit cards and personal loans, with interest rates that made the minimum payments higher than most people's rent. I was drowning. And she was scrolling through Tuscany villas. That Tuesday night, after she dismissed my concerns and went back to planning a vacation we couldn't afford, I made a decision. Not a rash one, not an angry one. A considered one. A necessary one. I was going to stop funding her lifestyle. Not out of spite. Not as punishment. But because I had to. Because if I didn't, we'd lose everything. The house, the cars, any hope of a future. I was going to cut her off, and she was going to hate me for it. But I had to try. The next morning, I canceled the credit cards. All of them. I transferred the balances to a personal loan in my name only, a consolidation loan with a fixed payment that I could manage. I closed the joint accounts and opened a new account in my name, where my paycheck would be deposited. Then I sat Sienna down and told her what I'd done. The conversation did not go well. You what? Her voice was shrill, incredulous. You canceled our credit cards? Without telling me? I told you. Many times. I showed you the numbers. I explained that we were drowning. You dismissed me every single time. That's not the same as making a unilateral decision behind my back. Unilateral? I've been begging you to be part of this conversation for years. You refused. So yes, I made a decision. Someone had to. She was pacing now, her face flushed with anger. Those cards were for household expenses. For my expenses. How am I supposed to buy groceries? How am I supposed to live? You'll have a budget. I've set up a household account with a monthly allowance. Enough for groceries, utilities, necessities. Plus a personal allowance for you, $500 a month for whatever you want. $500? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. My hair appointments cost more than that. Then you'll need to find a new hair salon. This is insane. This is financial abuse. You can't just cut me off like I'm a child. I'm not cutting you off. I'm protecting us. There's a difference. She stared at me, her eyes wild. I married a partner. Not a jailer. I married a partner too. But somewhere along the way, you stopped being my partner and started being my dependent. That's not what I signed up for. The fight lasted for hours. It spilled into the next day, and the next. She called her mother, who called me and accused me of being controlling. She called her friends, who rallied around her with stories of other men who'd done similar things. She called a lawyer, not to file for divorce, she said, but to understand her rights. The lawyer told her that in a community property state, she had a claim to half of everything, including the money I was hiding from her. I wasn't hiding anything. I was trying to save us. But try explaining that to someone who sees your actions as an attack. The first month was hell. Sienna refused to stick to the budget. She'd go to the store, buy whatever she wanted, and let the card decline. Then she'd call me, furious, demanding I fix it. I'd explain that she'd exceeded her allowance. She'd hang up and try again. She started hiding purchases. Small ones at first, things she could pay for with cash. Then bigger ones, using store credit cards she'd opened in her own name. I found out when the bills started arriving. "We're married," she said when I confronted her. "Your income is our income. I have a right to spend it. We're married. Which means we make decisions together. You're making them alone. You made decisions alone when you canceled the cards. Because you left me no choice." Round and round we went. The same arguments, the same accusations, the same pain. Our marriage became a war zone. Every conversation was a battle. Every interaction was charged with resentment. We slept in separate rooms. We ate separate meals. We lived separate lives under the same roof. I started seeing a therapist. Alone at first, then with Sienna when she reluctantly agreed. The therapist tried to help us communicate, to find common ground, to understand each other's perspectives. But Sienna couldn't hear me. Every time I expressed a concern, she heard an attack. Every time I set a boundary, she saw control. "You're not listening," the therapist said to her one session. "Marcus is telling you that he's scared. That he feels unheard. That he's carrying a burden alone. He's the one who created the burden. If he'd just let me live the way I want to live, we wouldn't have these problems. The way you want to live is $400,000 in debt. That's not living. That's dying slowly." Sienna stormed out. The therapist looked at me with sympathy. "This isn't sustainable," she said. "You know that, right?" "I know. What are you going to do?" I didn't have an answer. Not yet. The second month was worse. Sienna stopped talking to me altogether. She'd leave the house before I woke up, come back after I was asleep. She'd communicate through notes, short, cold, accusatory. She'd drained the joint bank account, the one I'd forgotten to close, and left me with insufficient funds notices on bills I'd already paid. I transferred the remaining money to my personal account and closed the joint one. She found out, of course. Another fight. Another round of accusations. "You're isolating me. You're cutting me off from everything. I'm protecting our assets. You're welcome to open your own account. You're welcome to get a job. You're welcome to contribute." A job? I haven't worked in 7 years. No one will hire me. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you spent us into oblivion. The words were out before I could stop them. Cruel, maybe, but true. And in that moment, I didn't care about cruelty. I cared about survival. The third month, something shifted. Sienna came home one evening, early, for once, and sat down across from me at the kitchen table. She looked different. Softer. Defeated. "I talked to my mother," she said quietly. Really talked to her. About everything. I waited. She told me I was wrong. She told me I'd been selfish and entitled and that if I didn't change, I'd lose you. Lose everything. That surprised me. Her mother had always defended her. She also told me something I didn't know. About my father. About how he left her because of money. Because she spent too much, and he couldn't take it anymore. I'd never heard this story. Sienna's parents were still married, as far as I knew. They reconciled years later. But she said the memory of that time still haunts her. The fear, the insecurity, the knowledge that she almost destroyed her marriage over things that didn't matter. Sienna looked at me, her eyes wet. I don't want that to be us. I don't want to be her, and I don't want you to be him. I reached across the table and took her hand. It was the first time we'd touched in weeks. What do you want? I asked. I want to fix this. I want to try. Really try. But I don't know how. I don't know where to start. We talked for hours that night. Really talked, not fighting, not defending, just communicating. She admitted she had a problem. She admitted she'd been in denial. She admitted she was scared of losing me, scared of facing reality, scared of the person she'd become. I admitted I'd been angry. Resentful. Exhausted. I admitted that I'd given up on us, in my own way, long before I canceled the cards. I admitted that I didn't know if we could come back from this. But I also admitted that I wanted to try. The trying was harder than either of us expected. We agreed to see a financial advisor together. A real one, with credentials and a plan. His name was Derek, and he was patient, thorough, and completely non-judgmental. He laid out our situation in stark terms: $400,000 in unsecured debt, plus the mortgage and car loans. Minimum payments alone were eating up 70% of my income. At this rate, we'd be in debt for the rest of our lives. There are options, he said. Bankruptcy. Debt consolidation. Selling assets. But they all require lifestyle changes. Significant ones. Sienna flinched at the word bankruptcy. I understood. It felt like failure. Like admitting we'd lost. What do you recommend? I asked. First, you need to sell the cars. Both of them. Buy something modest, paid in cash from the proceeds. That's $60,000 in debt gone immediately. Sienna's face fell. She loved her car, a Mercedes SUV, fully loaded, less than 2 years old. Second, you need to sell the house. The market's good right now. You'll walk away with equity that can pay down a significant chunk of the debt. Then you rent something modest for a few years while you rebuild. Our home. The place we'd made ours. The investment we'd counted on for our future. Third, you need to cut all discretionary spending. No vacations, no restaurants, no shopping. For at least 2 years. Every dollar goes to debt. Sienna was crying now. Quietly, but unmistakably. And fourth, Derek continued gently, you need to increase your income. Marcus, can you take on more work? Sienna, you need to find a job. Any job. The income will help, but more importantly, it will change your relationship with money. Sienna looked at me, panic in her eyes. I haven't worked in 7 years. I don't even know what I'd do. You'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. We left Derek's office with a plan and a weight that felt both crushing and, strangely, liberating. For the first time in years, we had a path forward. A hard path, but a clear one. The next few months were brutal. We sold the cars. Sienna cried when the Mercedes drove away. I held her hand and didn't say anything. What was there to say? We sold the house. That was harder. We'd made it ours, painted walls, planted gardens, built memories. Walking through the empty rooms on the last day, I felt a grief I hadn't expected. We moved into a small apartment. 2 bedrooms, no yard, thin walls. It felt like starting over. In a way, it was. Sienna started looking for work. It was humbling for her, someone who'd never had to job hunt, never had to explain a 7-year gap, never had to start at the bottom. She applied for dozens of positions. Got rejected from most. Finally landed a part-time job at a boutique, minimum wage, commission-based, completely different from anything she'd done before. She hated it. The long hours on her feet, the demanding customers, the meager pay. But she did it. Every day, she showed up. And slowly, something in her started to change. She started understanding the value of money. Not intellectually, but viscerally. When you work for $8 an hour, you think differently about a $50 dinner. When you're on your feet all day, you think differently about a handbag that costs a week's pay. She started appreciating what I'd been carrying. The weight of being the sole provider, the pressure of keeping us afloat, the exhaustion of working while she spent. She didn't say it in words, but I saw it in her eyes. In the way she'd rub my shoulders after a long day. In the way she'd pack my lunch instead of expecting me to buy it. In the way she'd say thank you for things she'd once taken for granted. We were healing. Slowly, painfully, but surely. Then the crisis came. It was a Thursday night, about 8 months into our new life. Sienna came home from work looking pale and shaken. She sat down at the kitchen table and didn't speak for a long moment. "What happened?" I asked. She pulled out her phone and showed me a text. From her old friend, Jessica, the one she'd gone to Cabo with, the one who'd encouraged all the spending. "Heard you're working at some boutique now. That's so cute. Let me know when you're ready to come back to the real world." I read the text twice. Then I looked at Sienna. "She's mocking you." "Yes." "Because you're working? Because you're being responsible? Because I'm not who I used to be. Because I don't have the money to play with her anymore." Sienna's voice cracked. "She's not my friend. She never was. She was just someone to spend money with." I reached for her hand. "I'm sorry. I'm not." She looked at me, and her eyes were clear. "I'm not sorry. Because now I know. Now I see. And I'd rather have this us, real, working, struggling, but together, than a million trips to Cabo with people who don't actually care about me." I pulled her into a hug. We held each other for a long time, there in our tiny apartment, surrounded by boxes we still hadn't unpacked, living a life we never planned. And for the first time in years, it felt like home. The next year was about rebuilding. Not just our finances, but our marriage. Our trust. Our understanding of each other. Sienna kept working at the boutique. She got a promotion, assistant manager, and a small raise. She started taking online classes in the evenings, working toward a degree in something she actually cared about, interior design. It turned out she had a talent for it. All those years of decorating our house, of obsessing over fabrics and furniture and color schemes, they weren't just spending. They were training. I kept working. Took on extra projects, worked weekends, did whatever it took. But now, when I came home tired, Sienna understood. She'd have dinner ready, simple meals, but made with love. She'd ask about my day and actually listen. She'd rub my feet while we watched TV, small gestures of care that meant more than any expensive gift. We paid off debt. Slowly, painfully, one bill at a time. Derek, our financial advisor, helped us celebrate each milestone. When we cleared the first 100,000, we went out for pizza, our first restaurant meal in months. It cost $30, and it felt like a feast. When we cleared the second 100,000, we took a weekend trip. Not to Cabo, not to Tuscany. To a cabin in the mountains, 3 hours away, that cost $200 for the whole weekend. We hiked. We cooked over a fire. We talked for hours about nothing and everything. It was the best vacation of our lives. By the end of year 2, we were down to our last 100,000 in debt. The light at the end of the tunnel was visible. Not bright, but there. Sienna finished her degree. Started her own interior design business, small at first, just word of mouth. But she was good. Really good. Her clients loved her. Her business grew. For the first time in our marriage, she was contributing financially. Not just spending, but earning. And the pride she felt, the genuine, earned pride, was something I'd never seen in her before. "I didn't know I could do this," she said one night, after landing a big client. "I didn't know I was capable of building something." "You always were. You just never had to try." She nodded. "I was so afraid. Afraid of failing, afraid of looking stupid, afraid of not being good enough. So I just spent money instead. It was easier. Easier, but not better. No. Not better." She smiled. "This is better. Hard, but better." We were in a good place. Not perfect, we still had arguments, still had moments of tension, but fundamentally solid. We'd been through the fire and come out the other side. Then her mother got sick. It happened fast. 1 month she was fine, the next she was in the hospital with a diagnosis that changed everything. Cancer. Advanced. Aggressive. The doctors gave her 6 months, maybe a year. Sienna fell apart. Not in the way she used to, not with spending or denial. But in a real, human, devastating way. She cried. She raged. She sat by her mother's bedside for hours, holding her hand, talking about nothing. I did what I could. I took over the household, managed her business, gave her space when she needed it and company when she didn't. I sat with her mother too, listened to her stories, told her I'd take care of her daughter. "I know you will," she said. "You already do. Better than I ever did." That meant more than she knew. Her mother died 4 months later. Sienna was with her, holding her hand. She called me afterward, her voice raw and broken, and I drove straight to the hospital. We sat in the parking lot for an hour, just holding each other. No words. Just presence. The funeral was small. Family only. Sienna's father was there, the one she'd almost become. He and Sienna talked for a long time afterward. I didn't ask what they said. It wasn't my business. But later that night, Sienna told me. He said he was proud of me. Of us. Of how we'd changed, how we'd fought for our marriage. He said he wished he'd done the same, back when he had the chance. What did you say? I said it's never too late. He and my mom found their way back. Maybe he can too. I hoped he would. For his sake. The months after her mother's death were hard. Grief is unpredictable, unrelenting. Some days Sienna was okay. Others, she could barely function. I learned to just be there, not to fix, not to solve, just to be present. Through it all, we kept paying off debt. Kept working. Kept moving forward. By the end of year 3, we were debt-free. Not just the credit cards, not just the loans. Everything. The cars, we'd bought cheap used ones, the medical bills from her mother's illness, the last lingering traces of the life we'd almost destroyed. We celebrated with a bottle of cheap champagne and a night in. It was perfect. It's been 5 years since that Tuesday night when I canceled the credit cards. 5 years since I made a choice that could have destroyed my marriage but instead, somehow, saved it. We're in a different place now. Literally and figuratively. We bought a house 2 years ago. Not the mansion we once had, but something better, a home we could actually afford. 3 bedrooms, a small yard, a kitchen we renovated ourselves. It's modest by our old standards. By our new ones, it's everything. Sienna's design business is thriving. She has a team now, an office, clients who seek her out. She makes more money than I do, a fact she mentions with pride and I mention with equal pride. We're partners in every sense of the word. I'm still an architect, but I work fewer hours now. I don't have to chase every project. The pressure is gone. The fear is gone. We have savings, investments, a future. We have a daughter. Her name is Lily. She's 2 years old, and she is the joy of our lives. Watching Sienna with her, the patience, the love, the care, I see the woman she's become. So different from the woman she was. Lily will never know the version of her mother who spent money like it was air. She'll know the woman who built a business, who fought for her marriage, who learned the hard way what really matters. That's the legacy of these years. Not the money we paid off, not the house we bought, but the person Sienna became. And the person I became too. Because I changed as well. I learned to communicate, not just to demand. I learned to listen, not just to be heard. I learned that marriage isn't about being right, it's about being together. We still have disagreements. We still argue about money sometimes, old habits dying hard. But now we argue as partners, not adversaries. We find solutions together, not ultimatums alone. The other night, we were sitting on our porch after Lily went to sleep. Sienna leaned her head on my shoulder and said, quietly, "Thank you." For what? For not giving up on me. For cutting me off when I needed it most. For being strong enough to make the hard choice. I almost didn't. There were so many times I wanted to walk away. I know. I could feel it. And I don't blame you. I would have understood. But I didn't. Because I loved you. Because I believed in us. She kissed my cheek. I'm glad you did. I'm glad we made it. Me too. More than words can say. So, AITA for refusing to fund my wife's lavish lifestyle after she dismissed my wishes? I've thought about that question a lot over the years. And here's my answer. No. I'm not the asshole. I'm a husband who finally set a boundary that should have been set years earlier. I'm a partner who refused to watch the person he loved destroy herself and their future together. I'm a man who chose hard conversations over easy silence. Could I have handled it better? Maybe. Could I have communicated more effectively, been more patient, found a middle ground? Possibly. But I did the best I could with what I had at the time. And in the end, it was enough. Barely. But enough. The woman who dismissed my wishes is gone. In her place is someone stronger, wiser, more present. Someone who knows the value of $1 and the greater value of a partnership. Someone I'm proud to call my wife. The life we have now isn't lavish. It's better than lavish. It's real. And real is worth more than all the designer handbags in the world. That's it for today's stories. If you want to see more of the best threads Reddit has to offer, make Reddit Be Mine a part of your daily routine. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a heartbeat. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next thread.